Hello?
Oh man, thank God you picked up. I need your help. He's coming for me. No! Ah! Oh! Oh! Help! Help! I need your help right now. He's got a knife. He's got a knife. No!
You ever want to play a video game but don't actually want to play anything? Introducing a movie. Man, I kind of feel like playing something. F*** it. Interactive adventure games. I love these things, and by that, I mean I hate my thumbs. Games that are largely cinematics where you don't control a character, but rather make key decisions to dictate where the story goes next. These are definitely video games, but very far removed from what you'd expect from the medium. These games were all the rage in the 2010s. Just ask developer Telltale. They made a ton of these games starring loads of popular franchises, ranging all the way from Batman to Game of Thrones to Minecraft. Sure, alright. These games really started to take off with the Walking Dead game. Something about getting to know and care for these characters for hours made the decision-making system even more impactful when you'd have to choose something important. Unfortunately, Telltale went out of business in 2018. They opened a new company, but not much has come out of them since, I guess, 2023. I think audiences got bored of these kinds of games. They have a ton of appeal, but I think once you've played one, you've kinda played them all. I haven't played any of these games. There's nothing wrong with them, I just haven't been interested in any of them up to this point. So how did we get here? Dispatch, developed by Ad Hoc Studios, a group made up in part by a bunch of old Telltale employees. Dispatch is an interactive adventure game that's become extremely popular. I mean, I assume it's become popular. I try to be as offline as possible when it comes to video game discourse. But what's made this game so popular? What does it have over other interactive adventures that audiences apparently got sick of? There's only one way to find out. This was really hard for me. Dispatch initially released its first 2 chapters on October 22nd, 2025. It scored an 89% on Metacritic and has already sold over 2 million copies worldwide. Our story begins with our protagonist, Robert Robertson. He's the famous superhero Mecha Man. He's on a mission to beat up some bad guys, but horrors emerge when they actually beat him up. Man, they're kicking this guy's ass! Get out of there, Mecha Man! Wow, that could have been bad, but it's a good thing we got out of there.
Videos flooded social media and our newsroom, showing what many thought to be the death of Mecha Man.
Man, these interactive adventure games are short as hell. He's okay. Mecha Man may be dead, but Robert Robertson is still here to fight the good fight. Robert Robertson may be dead, but Blonde Blazer is here to fight the good fight. So we meet this Blonde Blazer woman and she takes us to a bar. I burn this dude's eyebrows off, I spit on Blonde Blazer, I kiss her, she didn't like that. And what did I do wrong? Turns out she wants me to join her company, SDN. It's like a superhero call center where you send different superheroes to solve people's problems as they call. Since Robert's Mecha Man suit is out of commission, he decides to start his new life as a dispatcher. That's the end of chapter 1. There's 8 chapters in total, with 2 released every week until November 12th. It's a pretty effective start to the story. While I wasn't super engrossed in this world by this point, I was definitely interested to keep going. But before we get any further, we have to take a closer look into this game's presentation. Visuals and UI are an important part of any game, but for a game that's largely just a bunch of somewhat interactable cinematics, it's the most important thing. Interactive games like Heavy Rain suffer greatly from the uncanny valley-looking visuals of its cutscenes. I gotta say, Dispatch is a very good-looking game. The art style is probably the most obvious thing to point out. It's really clean-looking with obvious comic book influences. I'd want to call this art anime-inspired, and hey, maybe it is, but it reminds me of Invincible more than anything else. But this game doesn't just get points for its art direction. These cutscenes are extremely well put together, often using unique cuts and framing to keep things interesting. I really love it when games do this. I think things like cinematography are more closely examined in things like big budget movies, but video games can do this stuff too. Also, hats off to the voice cast here. Everyone is doing a really good job, and wait a minute. Is that moist critical?
That brings me to the first reason this game caught on. Internet celebrities.
No, there's no shame in that. Sometimes you need to get big names on your project so you can actually build fan interest. You need an appealing and wide-reaching reason for people to want to take a chance on your product. Invincible, ironically enough, probably owes a lot of its initial success finding an audience through its celebrity voice cast. We've got Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad as our main protagonist, Robert Robertson, and Jeffrey Wright of Everything as your coworker Chase. Among these two, as well as tons of talented voice actors like Laura Bailey, we've got internet celebrities like Jacksepticeye, Moist Critical, and Young Gravy. These guys do a great job though, and honestly, if I didn't know they were in this game, I probably wouldn't have noticed whatsoever.
But to be fair, I am stupid.
Looking at the narrative, this game takes place in a unique superhero world. That means it's taking direct inspiration from Marvel and DC, which is probably where my Invincible comparison comes from. There's a ton of characters who are very unsubtle nods to classic superheroes. Robert being a dispatcher effectively makes him Oracle from DC Comics. Malevola is Marvel's magic, down to the powers, weapon, and even the whole demon thing. Punch-Up is an homage to how superheroes were originally based off the classic strong man from circus performances, and Sonar, I'm not sure, he's some kind of Batman? These characters are the Z-Team, your own personal dispatch group. They're a group of ex-cons who've all decided to become superheroes. They just suck at it. So it's our job as Team Dispatcher to whip this group into shape. But they're not about to make it easy for me. These guys do not like you at first, with your most notable detractor being Invisigal. But don't worry, she does want to fuck you.
There's a fork in the road with this game's narrative. Which girl do you want to end up with? Blonde Blazer or Invisigal? I don't know, man. They're both a collection of polygons.
When I saw one of the villains with their cock out, I said, whatever floats your boat. But this dating sim is one step too far. Seriously, I don't know. This kind of stuff in games just isn't for me. I'll choose Blonde Blazer because I'm scared of people with dark hair. Anyway, it's time to get to dispatching, and hey, this is an actual game. It's a strategy game where you have to send out the right heroes for the right jobs. You're rewarded for how well you do, and you can even level up your heroes to make them more successful on mission.
That's my second guess for this game's success. It's a fun video game.
I wouldn't call this game hard, but it can get a little challenging at times if you're trying to go for a high score. The gameplay is ultimately extremely simple, but it's really fun. That said, I don't think it's more fun than the core interactive story side of the game. That's more of a testament to the story than anything else, but I always get a little disappointed when the cinematics end and I have to start playing.
At this point, I just need to shut up. I spent my whole life not playing interactive adventure games because of a lack of gameplay, and here I am complaining about too much gameplay. Oops.
The game also has hacking sections. These are used to break up the dispatching gameplay, and yeah, it's really simple, but really solid. You navigate through these paths trying to unlock passwords. They have a super stable difficulty curve, but can still pose a challenge if you're feeling cocky. As the story progresses, so do your relationships with your coworkers. Things start off tense with you having to fire one of them, but eventually they start to open up to you and become your friends. They also start to trust you more as a leader, which honestly doesn't affect gameplay at all, but they're less mean to me, so I'll take it. Since I chose to pursue Blonde Blazer, I have to do this whole dating thing, and the game asks you to make decisions quite often. Usually they feel pointless and just kind of disrupt the cinematics. Why does it matter what kind of flirty response I have? I don't know, I usually just try to pick whatever I think would be in character for Robert to say. Sometimes though, the game will ask you to make serious decisions that will affect the rest of your playthrough. They're often extremely difficult decisions, as over the course of this 8-hour story, you get really attached to these characters. In my playthrough, I kept Moist Critical and fired Coop, I added Waterboy to my team instead of Phenomaman, and I succumbed to peer pressure and fired Invisigal.
She then went on to break all kinds of HR violations, so I know I made the right choice.
With that, we've officially entered the game's climax. You see, throughout this whole game, Robert Robertson has been repairing his Mecha Man suit so he can take down the villain Shroud. Shroud is the one who destroyed the suit at the start of the game, and it was all in an attempt to steal its core, the Astral Pulse. But after Invisigal stole it back, Shroud's on a mission to get revenge.
He's also just Taskmaster from Marvel, like, the costume is dead on.
Invisigal gets the Astral Pulse back to Robert, and Mecha Man is alive once more. This finale only features one gameplay section, but it's different from the others. Parts of your team are out of commission and you need to fight to win them back. Then Coop, the person I fired from earlier, appears on the map as a new obstacle to take down. After that, we're treated to a very long final showdown. There's honestly not much special about this climax. It's pretty standard superhero affair, but it's cool to see our team working together like this. Ultimately, Shroud gets the Astral Pulse and reveals that Invisigal has been working for him this whole time.
How are we gonna get out of this? So are we gonna go get, like, shawarma now, or...?
Invisigal vanishes from the scene alongside the villains, implying she's decided to embrace villainy, I guess. Robert makes out with Blonde Blazer, the end. I don't know how to feel about my ending. Blonde Blazer never develops into an interesting character and has so little screen time compared to Invisigal. It feels like the game was written around you choosing her, with so much more of the narrative revolving around her.
Ultimately, this game is very good, but I couldn't help but feel kind of underwhelmed. The dispatch gameplay is really fun, but it's a really minor part of the experience, so this really isn't that different from any other interactive adventure game. This brings me to my final idea for why this game is so popular.
Maybe people just miss these kinds of games. It's been a while since one of them hit such a mainstream audience like this, so maybe people were just ready to experience them again. I don't think this means we're in an interactive game renaissance, but it's cool to see that there's still an audience for them.
Am I a part of this audience? I don't know, but I will say this game has severely affected my ability to enjoy things. I want to choose Hawkeye!